Exclusive contracted novel by Feilu Novel Network. The strongest leading actor system in the world, traverse through countless realms, obtain the strongest protagonist system, and embark on the path of the strongest protagonist. Xiaolongnu, Wang Yuyan, Shifei Xuan, Jiutian Xuannu, Ruthless Emperor. All of them are mine. The 9E Manual, the 18 dragon subduing palms, the long life code, and the skill of swallowing the demon. Are all mine. Dominate the 4 seas, sweep across the 8 wastelands, conquer the heavens and all realms, and I am the only one. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. The Strongest Actor System. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ouch. With a slightly enchanting sound, Feng opened his hazy eyes, rubbed his slightly sore head, and looked around. The scene in front of him surprised him greatly. Where is this? How could I be here? Feng realized that the place he was in was not a familiar rental house, but a beautiful mountain. Even his clothes had become ancient costumes, and his face couldn't help but show a look of fear. Damn it, why did you just change places after sleeping? However, before Feng could figure out what had happened, he was startled by a sudden flash of light in front of him. Name. Feng. Gender. Male. Age. 18. Strength. 120, determines the character's attack and defense attributes, agility. 110, determines the character's speed and evasion attributes, intelligence. 90, determines the character's learning and comprehension attributes, skill. None martial arts. None internal power. 0/1000 props. None realm. No inflow power. 100 system integral. 0 map. Divine Eagle Heroes World, Zhongnan Mountain. Divine Eagle Heroes World. Zhongnan Mountain. Damn it, what's going on here? Looking at this light curtain resembling a system panel, Feng's mouth was wide enough to swallow 2 eggs. Take a nap on your own, and then cross over. If the information displayed on the screen is true, then the place I am currently in should be Zhongnan Mountain. Feng's gaze shifted to the upper right corner of the light curtain, as he saw a Help button there. Press the Help button with your mind, and a few lines of text will pop up from the light screen. The strongest protagonist system, with various martial arts worlds as the fantasy background, helps the host become the strongest protagonist in each martial arts world. The first world is the world of the Condor Heroes. The main task is to marry the little dragon girl, help Guojing defend Xianyang, and win the Huashan debate. Upon seeing this passage, Feng was momentarily taken aback and immediately became excited. Marry Xiaolongnu as your wife. This task is great. You should know, little dragon girl is a ruthless fairy in the world. Marrying her as a wife is the dream of many men. Thinking of this, Feng couldn't help but become increasingly excited. Even Xiao Feng looked up. Don't worry, in this lifetime, I will never let anyone hurt you. Suddenly, Feng's face turned icy cold, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. A name appeared in Feng's mind. Zhen Jibing. Zhen Jibing, this righteous hypocrite has become the one Feng must kill. What is this? After calming down, Feng was attracted by the few lines of red font below the light curtain. Upon closer inspection, he was scared out of a cold sweat. Once the host dies in the fantasy world of martial arts, they will truly die. If the host is unable to complete the series of main quests and ultimate missions released by the system, they will also be erased by the system and truly die. Holy crap! Only then did Feng realize that he had been brought into the world of martial arts fantasy by the strongest protagonist system. He must complete a series of main and ultimate missions released by the system, otherwise his fate would only be true death. Feng shook his head, feeling somewhat helpless. Now that he had no other way out, he could only follow the instructions of the system and complete the system tasks. Just with Yi Feng's current strength, how can he marry little dragon girl? How to help Guo Jing defend Xiangyang? How to win the Huashan debate? In this dangerous world, if you don't have enough strength, you may be beheaded by someone else with a sword as soon as you enter the world. Yi Feng looked at the light curtain with a worried expression. The attribute standard for an ordinary person was 100, but his strength and agility attributes were only slightly higher than those of an ordinary person, and his intelligence was even lower. No wonder he failed the college entrance examination and fell into a chef training school to learn cooking. As for the techniques, martial arts, internal power, and props, they are all non-existent, and there is nothing that can help Yi Feng. This strongest protagonist system is too deceitful, isn't it? Yi Feng couldn't help but curse inwardly. However, at this moment, a cold system prompt suddenly sounded in Yi Feng's mind. As the host is a newcomer and has just entered the martial arts fantasy world, you can obtain a newcomer growth gift package. Then, in a corner of the light curtain, a warehouse interface popped up, and a red square package appeared. That's pretty good. Yi Feng nodded in satisfaction. If the strongest protagonist system didn't give him anything, what would be called the strongest protagonist system? Why not call it the strongest pit father system? Do you want to activate the new growth gift package? The cold system prompt sounded again. Open. Yi Feng said without hesitation. With a flash of red light, the red square package opened and several things jumped out. When Yi Feng saw these few things, he was stunned for a moment and immediately became ecstatic. Chapter 2. Newcomer Growth Gift Pack. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Congratulations to the host for obtaining 1 wash marrow and easy muscle pill, 1 9 transformations refining body pill, 1 heterosexual charm pill, 1 storage ring, and 1 basic martial arts book of the ancient tomb sect. As Yi Feng opened the newcomer growth gift package, 5 things suddenly appeared in the warehouse. 3 pills, a black ring, and a secret book. The Wash Marrow and Easy Muscle Pill enhances practitioners' physical fitness and cultivation qualifications, making them unique martial arts talents with unforgettable and deductive martial arts skills. The 9 Transformations Refining Body Pill permanently increases the cultivator's 3 major attributes by 30 points each. The Opposite Sex Charm Pill enhances the cultivator's temperament, making the opposite sex have an initial liking for the cultivator of 30, ineffective for little dragon girl. Storage Ring, with independent space inside, can store things without vital features. The basic martial arts techniques of the ancient tomb sect include the basic internal mental techniques of the ancient tomb sect, the bee catching technique, the sparrow catching technique, and the heavenly and earthly network technique. Looking at the items inside the warehouse interface, Yi Feng smiled and couldn't even close his mouth. The Wash Marrow and Easy Muscle Pill can change Yi Feng's martial arts aptitude, enabling him to have unforgettable and deductive martial arts skills, which is exactly what Yi Feng, a novice in martial arts, urgently needs today. The 9 Transformations Refining Body Pill can permanently increase Yi Feng's strength, agility, and intelligence attributes by 30 points each, which also makes Yi Feng's physique stand out from ordinary people. The Opposite Sex Charm Pill can enhance Yi Feng's temperament. Even women who meet for the first time have a liking for Yi Feng at least 30, friendly. As for the classification of favorability, Yi Feng learned from the system that it ranges from 100, incompatible, to 100, life and death together. However, what disappointed Yi Feng was that this opposite sex charm pill was actually ineffective against little dragon girl. As for the basic skills and martial arts of the ancient tomb sect, in addition to the bee control skill, the other 3 are the beginner skills and martial arts of the ancient tomb sect. Although the level is not high, it is just suitable for Yi Feng now. After all, Yi Feng has no foundation, and cannot cultivate such profound skills and martial arts as the 9 Manual and the Jade Maiden Heart Sutra. Do you want to use the Shifei Xuan? Yi Feng's thoughts fell on the Shifei Xuan, and the system prompt sound echoed in his mind. Yes. Yi Feng said without hesitation. Boom. In an instant, the wash marrow and easy muscle pill disappeared, and waves of extremely powerful energy rushed into Yi Feng's body like a torrent, impacting his meridians, flesh, and acupoints. Hiss. An unbearable and excruciating pain struck, causing Yi Feng's face to contort. However, Yi Feng gritted his teeth tightly because he knew that the wash marrow and easy muscle pill was beginning to work and transform his body. This transformation lasted for a full 3 hours before it ended. Cool. Yi Feng slowly opened his tightly closed eyes, and an indescribable sense of comfort spread throughout his body, as if he was about to transform into an immortal. At this moment, his skin was already covered with many black impurities. I don't know how to use the 9 transformations body refining pill and the heterosexual charm pill. Yi Feng's mind moved and he took the 9 transformations refining pill and the heterosexual charm pill one after another. After taking the 9 transformations refining pill, Yi Feng found that his strength had suddenly increased significantly. He felt like he could smash a stone with one punch, and his body had become much more agile. His mind was like an enlightenment, and his thinking speed had accelerated significantly. His whole body became lively and energetic. After taking the opposite sex charm pill, Yi Feng's appearance did not change at all, but his temperament became somewhat unique, gentle and elegant, giving people a feeling of being bathed in spring breeze. After taking 3 pills, Yi Feng's gaze fell on the secret book in the warehouse. Are you practicing the basic martial arts of the ancient tomb sect? Yes. Yi Feng said in his heart. The basic internal skill of the ancient tomb sect has been completed, increasing internal power by 50-100. The practice of royalty technique has been completed, increasing internal power by 50-100. The cultivation of catching sparrows skill has been completed, increasing internal power by 50-100. The cultivation of heavenly and earthly nets has been completed, increasing internal power by 10,000. The cultivation level has been elevated to the early stage of second rate, and the reward system points are 5,000. Holy crap! Upon hearing the system prompt, Yi Feng was surprised again. It turned out that practicing martial arts can also enhance one's internal strength. This is really an unexpected joy. Yi Feng learned from the system that the martial arts of the fantasy world of martial arts are divided into 4 levels. Heaven, Earth, Xianhuang, and each level is divided into 3 levels. Upper, middle, and lower. From the cultivation of the sparrow hunting technique and the heaven and earth network just now, it can be seen that the higher the level of martial arts in the cultivation of the technique, the greater the magnitude of the increase in internal power. If you cultivate such martial arts as the Jade Maiden Heart Sutra and the 9-in Manual in the future, I'm afraid you will increase your internal power more. Yi Feng's mind moved, and a black ring was placed on his left hand. With his mind, he was able to access and store items inside the storage ring. Yi Feng could sense that this storage ring was the size of a basketball court. With this storage ring, it would be much more convenient to carry things in the future. Yi Feng brings up the system's attribute panel again. Name. Yi Feng. Gender. Male. Age. 18. Strength attribute. 150 agility attribute. 140 intellectual attribute. 120 cultivation method. Basic internal mental skill of the ancient tomb sect, beginner level, martial arts. Sparrow hunting skill, beginner level. Heaven, earth, and network, beginner level, internal power. 25,000/50,000 prop. Storage ring combat power. 2,000 system points. 5,000 realm. Early second class. Chapter 3. First encounter with Little Dragon Girl. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It seems that the system can only help me cultivate these martial arts and techniques to the beginner level. Through the system, Yi Feng learned that the cultivation level of martial arts can be divided into 4 stages. Beginner level, minor achievement, major achievement, and major achievement. The system can help him quickly cultivate martial arts to the beginner level. As for the 3 stages of minor achievement, major achievement, and major achievement, he needs to spend time practicing hard. However, with the strongest protagonist system in place, Feng believes that it is not difficult to practice these martial arts to a level of great perfection. I understand this combat power, it should represent the actual combat power, but what is the purpose of this system integral? Feng looked at his 5,000 system points and pondered for a while, but couldn't figure it out. Finally, he reluctantly gave up. Unexpectedly, after practicing a set of basic martial arts of the ancient tomb sect, I never entered the mainstream and suddenly became a second-rate early master. It seems that becoming a master in the martial arts world is not difficult. I think it won't be long before I can go to Mount Hua to argue with Huang Yaoshi and Guojing, Feng laughed confidently. However, Feng, who had just entered the fantasy world of martial arts, didn't know that the journey of martial arts was as simple as he thought. It's time to go wash up. After laughing, Feng suddenly smelled a foul odor and realized that it was emanating from the black dirt on his body. He even felt a bit nauseous and searched everywhere, hoping to find a stream or mountain spring to clean it up. After searching for a while, Feng finally discovered an unusually secretive small lake. Finally found it. Feng eagerly took off his clothes and jumped into the small lake. After washing away the dirt on his body, Feng swam freely in the lake again. When he was on Earth, Feng particularly enjoyed swimming and had excellent water properties. He could hold his breath in the water for up to 10 minutes. Due to his failure in the college entrance examination, Feng had not been swimming for a long time. Now, feeling the comfortable feeling of water flowing through his body, he almost feels like he's about to speak out. Is someone here? I don't know if it's because of the improvement of the 3 major attributes that Feng's perception has become much more sensitive, and he can sense someone approaching from a distance. Although Feng is now a second-rate early master, he doesn't think he is invincible in the world. For safety reasons, he quietly lurked under a cluster of aquatic plants by the lake. Not long after, a graceful figure dressed in white as snow appeared by the lake. The newcomer was a 15 or 16-year-old girl, with an extremely beautiful face, like a lifeless fairy in the mortal world, leaving Feng stunned. It's so beautiful, I'm afraid even the fairies in the sky are just like that. Looking at the girl in white, Feng's mouth dripped with saliva. However, the next scene made Feng's nosebleeds almost surge out. Because he saw that the girl in white began to reach out and slowly unbutton her clothes. Does she also have to come down to take a shower? Feng's heart couldn't help but suddenly beat, and the identity of this white-clad girl was actually about to be revealed. Now I am in Zhongnan Mountain, and besides the Chuanjian sect, there is only the ancient tomb sect on it. The Chuanjian sect is full of Taoist priests, and the ancient tomb sect only has Sun Pa and Xiaolongnu. Obviously, this white-clad girl is not Sun Pa, so she must be Xiaolongnu. The white clothes quietly landed, making Feng's blood boil. It's really beautiful. Seeing the indescribable content of Little Dragon Girl, you will receive system rewards and system exploration skills. The cold system voice rang in Feng's ear. Sleeping trough, is this also okay? This strongest protagonist system is too practical, isn't it? Feng muttered as he activated the system exploration technique and applied it to the girl in white. Name: Xiaolongnu. Age: 16. Realm: First Class Mid-Term Combat Power: 70,000. Identity: Leader of the Ancient Tomb Sect, First-Rate Mid-Term: 70,000. Combat Power. Sure enough, as she had guessed, this white-clad girl was the Little Dragon Girl of the Ancient Tomb Sect. However, when she saw Little Dragon Girl's situation, Feng almost scared herself and her whole body suddenly became much clearer. Looking at his own 2,000 scumbag combat power, and then at Xiaolongnu's 70,000 combat power, Feng's face was filled with tears. The difference was not just a little bit. If we had to fight, we might only have the chance to be killed in a flash. Feng couldn't help but hold his breath and didn't dare to make any sound. If little dragon girl found out she was peeping at her bathing, she might have to kill herself. Chapter 4. I Am Your Senior Brother, Part 1, New Book Upload. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After Xiaolongnu entered the water, Feng could only see her head floating on the surface of the water. However, this did not prevent Feng from appreciating Xiaolongnu's beauty. Watching such a perfect woman in front of him, Feng's gaze never moved. Although I can't see anything, why don't I just look white? It's just that Feng underestimated Xiaolongnu's strength. He kept staring at Xiaolongnu like this. How could Xiaolongnu, as a first-class mid-stage expert, not notice? Xiaolongnu suddenly stopped and looked up in the direction where Feng was. Oh no, I've been discovered. Feng couldn't help but moan inwardly. Although discovered, Feng dared not move easily. There was a huge difference in strength between him and Xiaolongnu, and he had no confidence in escaping from Xiaolongnu's hands. For now, he could only wait and see how it had changed. Little dragon girl did not swim towards Feng, but flew onto the shore and quickly put on her clothes. At this time, Xiaolongnu was dressed in white clothes. As she had been living in an ancient tomb for years, her skin was fair and snowy, and her black hair hanging down to her waist, coupled with her indifferent and refined demeanor, made Feng once again addicted to Xiaolongnu's beauty. However, soon Feng woke up from this addiction, because he saw that the gaze of little dragon girl towards him became extremely cold, with a cold killing intent emanating, which made him shiver uncontrollably. Who? How dare you trespass on the ancient tomb sect? The voice of Xiaolongnu was like a heavenly melody, but at this moment, it emitted a cold chill, causing the temperature of the air to suddenly drop significantly. What should I do? Feng is feeling very guilty now. Although he arrived first, this place is still their territory, and he has been sneaking a peek at them for so long. Even if he is reasonable, he cannot explain it to them. Shoo shoo. Seeing that Feng was still hiding in the lake, the aquatic plants did not come out, and the little dragon girl did not speak much. Her jade hands trembled slightly, and 3 jade bee needles shot out, shooting towards Feng. Xiaolongnu did not spare her hand. These 3 jade bee needles were enough to kill an ordinary person. The ancestors and mother-in-law of the ancient tomb sect have long established rules that anyone who intrudes into the sect will be shot to death. Moreover, killing someone is not a burden for little dragon girl at all. This is not that little dragon girl is obsessed with killing, but rather that she has been practicing the internal skills of the ancient tomb sect for 16 years without any emotions of joy, anger, sorrow, or joy. She also has a very indifferent attitude towards life and death, and her temperament is somewhat rigid. She dare not violate the rules set by her grandparents at all. Jade bee needle. Not good. Nowadays, as a second-rate early master, Feng is not an ordinary person, and his agility attribute is higher than that of ordinary people. Therefore, with a movement of his body, he leapt out of the water, dodged 3 jade bee needles, and then casually took his clothes and put them on. Bird-catching skill. Little dragon girl looked at Feng's skill, her stunning face showing a look of surprise. She could tell at a glance that what Feng had just demonstrated was definitely the authentic ancient tomb sect martial arts, the sparrow-catching skill. Who the hell are you? Why do you know the martial arts of my ancient tomb sect? Xiaolongnu's face became increasingly cold. The man in front of her not only trespassed on the ancient tomb sect, but also secretly learned the martial arts of the ancient tomb sect. According to the rules set by my grandparents, the man in front of me must die today. Feng also felt the icy killing intent emanating from Xiaolongnu, and his face suddenly changed. He looked at Xiaolongnu and found that her liking for him had reached .60, hatred. How could this be? Feng secretly complained. Just now, little dragon girl's favorability towards her was only .10, indifferent. In this short breath time, it actually dropped directly to 0.60, hatred. This has also dropped too quickly. Did you just cross into the fantasy world of martial arts and end up dying at the hands of little dragon girl? No, I am the future husband of Xiaolongnu. I cannot let Xiaolongnu bear the curse of killing her husband. Since you didn't say it, don't blame me for taking action. Just as Yi Feng murmured in his heart, little dragon girl was already feeling a bit impatient. Her jade hands suddenly lifted, as if preparing to take action. Stop, junior sister, I'm your senior brother. Suddenly, a spiritual light flashed in Yi Feng's mind and he blurted out his words. Chapter 5. I am your senior brother, Part 2, Seeking Collection. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Senior brother. Xiaolongnu looked at Yi Feng, but did not believe his words. The ancient tomb sect strictly prohibits men from entering, let alone accepting men as disciples. How could this man in front of me be my senior brother? Even if little dragon girl is innocent, she is not so easy to fool. Not bad, I am your senior brother and also a disciple of the ancient tomb sect. I came back to search for my sect today and unintentionally offended my junior sister. Please forgive me, junior sister. Yi Feng clasped his fists and said seriously. Looking at Yi Feng's serious appearance, little dragon girl couldn't help but wonder, is what he said true? What proof do you have? Said little dragon girl. A hint of cunning flashed in Yi Feng's eyes, then he lowered his head and began to sing in a low voice, like a tide. The last sound overlapped with the previous, becoming increasingly loud. Wasp keeping technique. Upon hearing Yi Feng's low moan, little dragon girl's face slightly changed. She naturally knew that the low moan made by Yi Feng was the secret of the ancient tomb sect, the technique of guarding bees. Buzz, buzz. With Yi Feng's low moan, soon after, a buzzing sound came from afar, and a large group of jade bees flew in with astonishing momentum, then continuously circling around Yi Feng. Yi Feng raised his head and gave a slight smile to Xiaolongnu, saying, You should believe me now, junior sister. If I were not a disciple of the ancient tomb sect, how could I know the secret beekeeping technique of the ancient tomb sect that is not passed down? After hesitating for a moment, Xiaolongnu shook her head and said in disbelief, Grandmother and grandmother have long established a rule that the ancient tomb sect never accepts male disciples. How could master take you as a disciple? Before my grandparents founded the ancient tomb sect, they once took in a disciple, who was my master, Yi Feng explained. I don't believe it, said little dragon girl. So how did I learn the bee catching technique and the sparrow catching technique? Yi Feng smiled slightly and asked in response. This. For a moment, little dragon girl was a bit stuttered. Indeed, even senior sister Li Macho doesn't know the beekeeping technique. How did the man in front of him learn it? Xiaolongnu lived in the tomb of the dead for a full 16 years, almost isolated from the world, so her heart was relatively simple. If it comes to verbal game, she is naturally far from a match for Yi Feng. If junior sister still doesn't believe it, senior brother will show her another set of martial arts from the ancient tomb sect. Yi Feng noticed that Xiaolongnu's favorability towards him gradually increased from 0.60, hatred, to 0, chance encounter. Knowing that Xiaolongnu was already half believing in his words, he took advantage of the hot iron and used the technique of the heaven and earth trapping technique. Now that Yi Feng's cultivation has reached the early stage of second rate, he has begun to possess the demeanor of a master, and his display of the network of heaven and earth is quite impressive. For a moment, even Yi Feng himself was somewhat shocked. Damn it, I'm so amazing now. Watching Yi Feng proficiently unleash his heavenly and earthly network, and his internal strength is also an authentic internal skill of the ancient tomb sect. Although little dragon girl had some doubts, she had already believed Yi Feng's word 7 or 8 times. If it weren't for the disciples of the ancient tomb sect, how could they have mastered the basic internal mental skills, beekeeping techniques, bird-catching techniques, and the heavenly and earthly network of the ancient tomb sect? Even if you can steal the skills of catching birds and the network of heaven and earth, you cannot steal the skill of keeping bees. Thinking of this, Xiaolongnu clenched her fists and said to Feng, "Junior sister Xiaolongnu, I have seen senior brother before." Feng finally breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that Xiaolongnu had a friendly rating of 20 towards him. Xiaolongnu was still relatively innocent, and he had been fooled by her and had forgotten about watching her take a shower. If it were Li Macho, I'm afraid things wouldn't be so easy to solve. Successfully became a disciple of the ancient tomb sect and a senior brother of the little dragon girl, rewarded with 10,000 internal power, and obtained a super first-class early master experience coupon. Suddenly, a system prompt sounded in Feng's mind. This is also okay. Unexpectedly, Feng fooled himself and inexplicably became a disciple of the ancient tomb sect and the senior brother of little dragon girl, receiving systematic rewards. Opening the attribute panel, Feng found that his internal strength had reached 35,000, and he was still 15,000 meters away from the level improvement. As for the super first-class early master experience coupon, it can instantly make Feng's cultivation reach the level of super first-class early, lasting for 5 minutes. This experience coupon is too awesome. Feng excitedly said in his heart, "Little Dragon Girl is just a realm in the middle stage of first-class, with 70,000 combat power. If she were to surpass first-class in the early stage, wouldn't she be invincible in the end of the South Mountain? Unfortunately, it only takes 5 minutes. P.S. New book upload, hoping to receive the care of all book friends, seeking collection, flowers, and rewards." Chapter 6. A Roasted Rabbit Boosts Favorability, New Book. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Senior Brother. Little Dragon Girl called out softly. Ah. Feng was still immersed in the joy of obtaining the super first-class early master experience coupon, and was gently called by Xiaolongnu before returning to reality. Xiaolongnu thought that Feng was delighted because she had found her school, so she, as a simple person, did not doubt anything. Gudu gudu. At this moment, Feng's stomach heard waves of cries. Since last night until now, Feng has never eaten anything and has long been so hungry that he has been clinging to his back. Feng smiled awkwardly and said, "Junior sister, do you have anything to eat?" Senior brother hasn't eaten anything for a long time. Xiaolongnu nodded and took out 3 white jade porcelain bottles from her arms, handing them to Feng. This. Taking 3 white jade porcelain vases, Feng felt a bit petrified. Although he knew that these 3 white jade porcelain bottles were all filled with honey, they were too small, and each white jade porcelain bottle was only as big as Feng's little finger. To put it bluntly, the 3 bottles of honey added up are not enough for him to take a bite. Can this also fill the stomach? Little Dragon Girl, are you intentionally playing with senior brother? But having it is better than not having it. Feng poured 3 bottles of honey into his mouth, and suddenly, a refreshing sweetness spread throughout his mouth and spread throughout his body, giving Feng a feeling of ethereal elegance. Gudu. Just the cruelty of reality quickly pulled Feng back from this ethereal feeling. After finishing these 3 bottles of honey, Feng felt even hungrier. Feng looked at Xiaolongnu again, and the latter spread out her hand, only having these 3 bottles of honey on her body. It seems we have to rely on ourselves. Feng said helplessly. However, the ancient environment was indeed well protected, with a plethora of wild animals. Looking around, Feng discovered a plump gray rabbit not far away. "It's you." Feng's mouth was drooling, and a big and fragrant roasted rabbit had already come to mind. Shoo! With a movement of Feng's body, he unleashed his bird-catching skills and rushed towards the gray wild rabbit. The gray rabbit was caught by Feng before it could react. Damn it, am I so awesome? The rabbit didn't react, and Feng didn't react either. Looking at the gray rabbit in his hand, he was a bit stunned. He easily grabbed this gray rabbit. Yi Feng didn't expect that the bird hunting skill could easily capture even sparrows flying in the sky, let alone wild rabbits running on the ground. Junior sister, you treated me to honey just now, and now I treat you to roasted whole rabbits. Yi Feng said with a smile. After picking up a pile of firewood, Yi Feng suddenly found himself facing a huge challenge. No lighter. There's no match either. Where does fire come from? Forget it, drill wood for fire. At least Yi Feng has watched the program Surviving in the Wilderness and understands how to make fires by drilling wood. However, everything seems easy to do, but it is difficult to do. Yi Feng held 2 wooden sticks and drilled for a long time. The sticks, except for some turning black, did not even emit any black smoke. Damn it! Yi Feng threw away 2 wooden sticks that were used to make a fire, and said angrily. Senior brother, do you need a fire fold? The little dragon girl on the side looked at it for a while, but couldn't bear it anymore. She took out a fire fold from her arms and handed it to Yi Feng. This you didn't mention the fire earlier, it made me tired for half a day. Yi Feng murmured inwardly, but his face was still full of smiles. He took the fire fold and said, thank you, junior sister. With fire, it's easy to say. Yi Feng has been training at the chef school for several months, but he still has some skills. He quickly processed the gray rabbit and then used a branch to string it up and roasted it over the fire. Under the scorching flames, a golden oil appeared on the surface of the wild rabbit, emitting an intoxicating fragrance. How fragrant! Smelling the aroma emitted by the roasted rabbit, Yi Feng felt even more hungry. Therefore, as soon as the roasted rabbit was cooked, Yi Feng grabbed a rabbit leg and wolfed it down. After eliminating the rabbit leg completely, Yi Feng realized that little dragon girl had been looking at him. What a lack of gentlemanly demeanor. As Yi Feng murmured in his heart, he grabbed a rabbit leg and handed it to little dragon girl, saying, junior sister, you should also try it. Xiaolongnu hesitated for a moment, then took the rabbit leg and slightly opened her white teeth, taking a gentle bite. Although there are no seasonings, Yi Feng's craftsmanship is still unknown, and little dragon girl's diet has always been dominated by honey and she has never eaten rabbit meat, so when she first eats it, it feels exceptionally delicious. Junior sister, how are you? Senior brother's craftsmanship is good, isn't it? Yi Feng asked while chewing on the rabbit meat. Little dragon nodded. Yi Feng and little dragon girl wiped out the entire roasted rabbit, most of which fell into Yi Feng's belly. It's really delicious. Yi Feng patted his stomach, belched heavily, and sighed, on Earth, due to the destruction of the ecological environment, it is simply impossible to eat wild rabbits. Even little dragon girl has eliminated 2 rabbit legs. It has to be said that this picnic was very successful because Yi Feng found that through this picnic, little dragon girl's liking for herself increased to 30, friendly. Chapter 7. Ancient Cold Jade, New Book for Collection. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Having filled my stomach, it's time to get down to business. Xiaolongnu's liking for herself has climbed to 30, friendly, which also means that Yi Feng has successfully overcome the crisis of accidentally entering the ancient tomb sect and peeking at Xiaolongnu's bathing. Junior sister, this time senior brother has come specifically to search for his sect. Could you please take me back to the tomb of the living dead? Yi Feng said softly, with a gentle smile on his face. Okay, senior brother, please follow me. Upon hearing Yi Feng's request, Xiaolongnu immediately nodded in agreement. Although there are rules in the ancient tomb sect that prohibit men from entering, since Yi Feng is a disciple of the ancient tomb sect and his senior brother, he naturally does not belong to the rules. So easy. Seeing Xiaolongnu so easily agreeing to his request, Yi Feng couldn't help but secretly rejoice. As long as I can stay in the tomb of the living dead, I'm afraid I won't have the opportunity to cultivate feelings with little dragon girl. Just in Yi Feng's memory, there seems to be a grandmother.in.law in the tomb of the living dead. This grandmother.in.law is not as inexperienced as little dragon girl. I wonder if she will ruin her good deeds. Under the leadership of Xiaolongnu, the two slowly walked towards the tomb of the living dead, and the sky gradually darkened. I don't know who else in the sect besides junior sister is there now. Yi Feng asked tentatively. After my master's death, my senior sister left. Now in the tomb of the living dead, only I and grandma's son are left to live together, said little dragon girl. Upon hearing this, Yi Feng nodded, which was similar to the plot of the divine sculpture. However, if calculated based on the original plot time, in 2 years, when little dragon girl turned 18, Guo would join the ancient tomb sect. However, since it is a fantasy world of martial arts, Yi Feng cannot be certain that the development of this world will definitely follow the plot of the novel. After all, his appearance has completely disrupted the timeline of this world. The two of them walked slowly forward, but Xiaolongnu was not good at words. Along the way, Yi Feng asked and Xiaolongnu answered. However, the relationship between the two quickly became closer, and little dragon's liking for Yi Feng increased to 35, friendly. Under the guidance of little dragon girl, Yi Feng arrived at the tomb of the living dead. As soon as he entered the tomb, Yi Feng felt a cold breath that made him shiver uncontrollably. It's so cold. Yi Feng couldn't help but say. What senior brother feels should be the cold aura emanating from Hanyu Chuang, said little dragon girl. Is this cold Jade Chuang so powerful? Yi Feng exclaimed in surprise. Yi Feng naturally knew that Hanyu Chuang was an ancient Hanyu that Lin Chaoying had spent 7 years digging up under hundreds of zhang of ice in the bitter cold land of the far north. Sleeping on this Jade Chuang to practice internal skills was equivalent to 10 years of regular cultivation. However, Yi Feng did not expect that the coldness emanating from the cold Jade Chuang was so strong that he could clearly feel it as soon as he entered the tomb of the living dead. Junior sister, I once heard my master say that the cold Jade Chuang is a rare treasure in the world, which greatly helps with practicing martial arts. Is it true? Yi Feng asked. Not bad, sleeping on this Jade Chuang to practice internal skills is worth 10 years of regular cultivation. Moreover, the cultivators sit on it and are not easily possessed by demons. When practicing, they can be brave and aggressive. Little Dragon Girl has no hidden secrets and will share the advantages of this cold Jade Chuang one by one. Upon hearing Xiaolongnu's introduction of the benefits of Hanyu Chuang, Yi Feng was somewhat tempted and said, if it's convenient, can junior sister show me around? What's not allowed here? As she spoke, Xiaolongnu had already led Yi Feng into a stone chamber. This stone chamber is naturally Xiaolongnu's boudoir, but it is probably the most rudimentary and shabby boudoir in the world. The entire stone chamber, except for a long blue stone, has only one hanging rope. As soon as Yi Feng stepped into the stone chamber, he felt as if he had instantly returned from the scorching heat to the cold winter, with goosebumps on his body. Is this the Hanyu Chuang? Yi Feng's gaze fell on the long blue stone chuang, which was covered with a straw mat and a white cloth as a thin quilt. Apart from that, there was nothing else. This Hanyu Chuang has not been very helpful to me. If senior brother is willing, you can sleep on it. To Yi Feng's surprise, little dragon girl let him sleep directly in her own room, and her heart was filled with joy. Yi Feng was about to try out the effects of the cold Jade Chuang when the little dragon girl beside her said, "Senior brother, be careful. At the beginning, the extreme cold is unbearable, and you must use your whole body's power to compete, otherwise you may be easily frostbitten." Thank you for the reminder, junior sister. Yi Feng smiled slightly, but in his heart, he said defiantly, in the original work, even young Yanghua can withstand the coldness of Hanyu Chuang. I don't believe I can't handle it. I am at least a second-rate early master now. Yi Feng leapt up and sat down on the upper plate of Hanyu Chuang. Suddenly, he felt an increasingly fierce piercing coldness invading him, and his entire lower plate was like a needle, with bursts of pain. Yi Feng quickly activated the internal mental technique of the ancient tomb sect, and suddenly felt a significant decrease in cold energy, with the tingling sensation fading away. Instead, it was replaced by a cool and comfortable feeling. What surprised Yi Feng even more was that the cold energy entered his body, and after running in his body, his internal strength significantly improved. Chapter 8. Young Yanghua, Seeking Collection. Seeking Flowers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Undoubtedly, it is an ancient cold jade extracted from an extremely cold place. If one can cultivate on it for a year and a half, I believe it will be of great benefit to the improvement of cultivation. Feeling the increase in internal power brought by the cold jade chuang, Yi Feng secretly praised. Only then did Yi Feng understand that little dragon girl was able to reach the level of a first-class expert at an age of 20.8. Apart from her exceptional talent, perhaps the main credit was still due to this cold jade. Practicing for a year is worth someone else's 10 years of hard work. This is so successful that it can almost catch up with one's strongest protagonist system. Senior brother, don't you feel the bone-chilling cold? Little dragon girl asked in surprise as she looked at Yi Feng enjoying himself. No, on the contrary, I feel cool and comfortable, making me feel refreshed and happy, Yi Feng said with a smile. Seeing that Yi Feng didn't seem to be pretending, little dragon girl couldn't help but secretly marvel. She had long realized that her senior brother's cultivation level was only at the early stage of second rate. If it were an ordinary second-rate early martial artist, they would never be able to adapt to the icy cold of the cold jade chuang when they first encounter it. Even if they were just practicing with the cold jade chuang, they would still experience great discomfort. But my senior brother, who had just come into contact with Hanyu Chuang, didn't feel any discomfort at all. Thinking of this, Xiaolongnu couldn't help but look at Yi Feng again. Yi Feng sat and practiced for an hour in Hanyu Chuang, then slowly opened his eyes and exhaled a slightly cloudy white air, with the corner of his mouth slightly raised. In this short hour, my internal strength has made significant progress. We are within reach of the second-rate middle stage. Yi Feng opened his eyes and saw Xiaolongnu lying on the rope, propping her head with her hands and looking at himself. By the way, why haven't you seen Grandma Sunday? Yi Feng's mind moved and asked. Oh, she probably went to Chuanjian education with a child, said Xiaolongnu calmly. A child? Yi Feng exclaimed in surprise, and an ominous thought suddenly flashed through his mind. At this moment, a low moan suddenly came from a distance, and upon closer inspection, it was the beekeeping technique of the ancient tomb sect. Not good, it's my grandmother. Law. Xiaolongnu's face changed slightly, and she immediately jumped off the rope. With a movement of her body, she quickly swept towards the outside of the tomb. The direction of the low murmur is exactly the Chongyang Palace of Chuanjian sect. Wait for me, junior sister. Seeing this, Yi Feng quickly followed up. Shoo! Yi Feng followed little dragon girl and walked out of the ancient tomb for a moment. Soon, he saw several magnificent buildings, and one of the main halls was inscribed with the three ancient characters, Chongyang Palace. This should be the location of Chuanjian sect. Yi Feng said to himself, but he didn't have any fear in his heart. With a powerful little dragon girl of 70,000, his safety should be guaranteed. Even if he encountered any danger, he still had a super first-class early master experience coupon, which was enough to save his life. I don't know what happened inside the Chongyang Palace. At this time, the outer perimeter of the Chongyang Palace was already heavily guarded, with many third or fourth generation disciples of the Chuanjian sect holding long swords and guarding the outside. Who dared to venture into the Chongyang Palace at night? Seeing Yi Feng and Xiaolongnu, the disciples of Chuanjian sect let out a loud shout. Seeing that neither of them had the intention to stop, they all held their swords and stabbed them. These third and fourth generation disciples of the Chuanjian sect belong to the non-mainstream category among the entire Chuanjian sect. The one with the highest cultivation level is only in the later stage of the third class, and even Yi Feng doesn't take them seriously, let alone little dragon girl. Humph. Xiaolongnu let out a soft snort, her face as cold as frost. With a sudden wave of her sleeve and robe, the third and fourth generations of disciples of Qiuanzhen sect were all shaken out by the true energy, falling in disarray and spewing out a mouthful of blood, suffering heavy damage. If it weren't for Xiaolongnu's concern for her old neighbor and not hurting the assassin, she could have killed them all with just one strike. Upon seeing this scene, the other disciples of the Qiuanzhen sect dared not step forward to stop them, allowing Yi Feng and Xiaolongnu to rush to the entrance of the Chongyang Palace. At the entrance of the main hall, Yi Feng saw a 13 or 14-year-old boy using his body to protect an ugly and seriously injured old lady under the south wall of the Chongyang Palace. In front of the young man and the old woman, there were dozens of Qiuanzhen Taoist priests, one of whom had white beard and eyebrows, a purple face, and looked at the young man in front of him with an anxious expression. Yang Guo. Yi Feng was taken aback for a moment, and immediately recognized that the young man was Yang Guo, while the old lady was probably Sun Granny who had been taking care of little dragon girl. Tonight, it was the time when Yang Guo and Qiuanzhen sect completely broke up. As for the old Taoist with white beard and eyebrows, it goes without saying that he is Hao Datong, the son of Guangning among the 7 sons of Qiuanzhen. P.S. Young seedlings are prone to breakage and require careful care. I hope that readers who think this book is well written can support Xiao Yesterday by collecting more flowers. The more flowers, the better. Xiao Yesterday will also work hard to update and repay everyone. This book is up to everyone. Chapter 9. Yi Feng accepts his apprentices. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Sure enough, the timeline has been disrupted, Yi Feng said to himself as he watched the scene. If according to the original plot, Yang Guo would probably not be able to reach Mount Zhongnan until 2 years later, and his joining has completely changed the plot development of this martial arts fantasy world. Bullying young children and elderly women, Qiuanzhen education can be considered a hero. Upon seeing her seriously injured grandmother. Law, a hint of unnoticed anger flashed on the face of Xiaolongnu Kue Wubua. Her cold voice spread both inside and outside the Chongyang Palace, and even the surrounding temperature seemed to have decreased significantly. Hao Datong, Yang Guo, and disciples of Qiuanzhen sect all turned their heads and saw Xiaolongnu and Yi Feng walking slowly. Seeing the two of them, Hao Datong's face changed slightly. Now that the Chongyang Palace was heavily defended, the two of them could easily break in. Obviously, they were not ordinary people. Especially the woman in white in front of him, giving Hao Datong an invisible pressure. Who are you two? Why did you break into my Chongyang Palace at night? Hao Datong asked. Xiaolongnu didn't answer, but walked slowly to Grandma's son's side. Yi Feng glanced at Hao Datong and treated him as heir. As one of the 7 sons of Qiuanzhen, Hao Datong has always been highly respected by people in the martial arts world. Whenever he received such cold looks, his heart was filled with anger. However, after years of cultivation, he still restrained himself and suppressed his anger. Upon seeing the arrival of little dragon girl, young Yang Guo raised his head and pointed at Hao Datong, saying with a sorrowful expression on his face, "Dragon Auntie, this evil Taoist killed his mother. Law. Everyone is going to die, so that's nothing." Xiaolongnu, who was practicing the internal skills of the ancient tomb sect, had already remained calm and had no signs of joy, anger, sorrow, or joy on her face. However, Yi Feng could still see that seeing her grandmother. Law, who had raised her, being seriously injured and unable to recover, made her extremely sad. Grandmother looked at little dragon girl, her lips slightly wriggling, but she couldn't speak. Yi Feng leaned down, Shen reached out his palm, pressed it on Grandma's son's back, and emitted a strong stream of true qi into her body. He asked softly, "Grandma's son, do you have anything to say?" Due to Yi Feng's true energy, Grandma's son's pain suddenly decreased. She looked at little dragon girl and said with a slightly difficult expression, "Miss, I have never asked you anything in my life. When I was dying, I asked for something." Upon hearing this, Yi Feng's eyebrows furrowed slightly. As someone who had watched the Divine Eagle Heroes, he naturally knew what the plot would be. However, in the main task assigned to him by the system, he wanted to marry Little Dragon Girl, so he naturally wouldn't hand Little Dragon Girl over to Yang Guo again. Therefore, before Xiaolongnu could answer, Feng said, "Grandma, can't you rest assured about this child? Please rest assured that I will take care of this child and will never let him be bullied by the Chuanjian sect again. How about that?" Grandmother raised her head and looked at Feng. Perhaps due to the opposite sex charm pill and the true energy just now, grandmother's liking for Feng reached 50, trust. "That's all up to you, young Xia." Grandma's son smiled as she knew it was up to Xiaolongnu. She also found it difficult for Xiaolongnu. Although she didn't know Feng, she had an inexplicable trust in his words. Feng nodded and then said to the young boy Yang Guo beside him, "Child, are you willing to worship me as a teacher?" Yang Guo glanced at Grandma's son and saw her nod, then loudly said, "Yes." "Would you like to kowtow?" Feng said. Without saying a word, Yang Guo immediately knelt down and kowtowed 3 times to Feng, saying, "Young disciple Yang Guo, pay respects to master. Take Yang Guo as an apprentice and receive system rewards. Increase internal power by 10,000 and system points by 50,000. At this moment, a cold system prompt sounded in Feng's mind. "Sleeping trough, that's okay." Feng whispered to himself as he heard the system prompt. Through these system rewards, he has come to understand that in the world of divine sculptures, besides completing main quests, completing some randomly triggered side quests may also earn him system rewards. "I'm just not sure. If there are rewards, is there still punishment? Evil disciple, how dare you openly betray your sect?" A long-bearded Taoist was furious and scolded. Other disciples of the Chuanjian sect also began to insult one after another, which was unbearable and lacked the demeanor of a cultivator. Even Hao Datong couldn't help but frown, but he did not stop it. Upon hearing the insults, Feng's face suddenly darkened. His cold gaze slowly swept towards the Chuanjian Taoist priests, and his sharp gaze startled their hearts. He even closed his mouth and involuntarily took a step back. What a terrifying look. Chapter 10. Little Dragon Girl's Attack, Seeking Collection. Seeking Flowers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. What a terrifying look. For a moment, the entire Chongyang Palace became silent, and all the Chuanjian Taoist priests who met Feng's gaze hastily shifted their gaze away, afraid to meet Feng. This young man's cultivation is only in the early stage of second rate, but why is his gaze so terrifying? His aura is so amazing. Feeling Feng's terrifying gaze, Hao Datong was secretly shocked. Even Little Dragon Girl was somewhat surprised. In her impression, her senior brother was just a carefree person, and she never expected such a sharp side. Pushi. At this moment, seeing that Feng had taken Yang Guo as her disciple, Grandma's son's heart was already worried, and a smile appeared on her face. However, she couldn't lift her breath anymore, and a mouthful of blood spurted out, causing her to die from exhaustion. "Granny, Granny." Upon seeing this, the young Yang Guo leaned over his grandmother's son and burst into tears. Hao Datong mistakenly killed his grandmother. Law, with a hint of regret on his face. He bowed to her body and sighed softly, "Grandmother. Law, I accidentally injured you, but it was not my intention. This crime has fallen on me, and it should have happened to you. You should go well. Fake and hypocritical Taoist, I'll fight with you." Yang Guo raised his head and looked at Hao Datong, his innocent face showing a look of resentment. He rushed to Hao Datong and punched him fiercely. "Pop it." Yang Guo punched Hao Datong but did not harm him. Instead, he was knocked out by his protective chi and fell heavily. Fortunately, Hao Datong was still immersed in the guilt of accidentally killing Grandma's Sunday. Otherwise, Yang Guo would not have fallen as easily. Yang Guo got up and came to Feng and Xiaolongnu. He kowtowed 9 times and said, I beg Master and Aunt Long to avenge Grandma Sunday. Yang Guo wandered from a young age and only felt love for Ouyang Feng and his grandmother. Law. Now that he saw his grandmother. Law die in front of him, he was filled with grief and anger. As a result, he knocked his head hard and loudly, even breaking his forehead. The crimson blood flowed down his face, staining it red. Looking at Yang Guo, whose face was covered in blood, and then at Grandma's son, whose body gradually became stiff, little dragon girl frowned slightly and looked up at Hao Datong, saying coldly, aren't you willing to commit suicide to apologize? Do you insist on me taking action? Hao Datong was taken aback and said in a deep voice, the death of Grandma's son was actually an accidental injury. I am willing to recite scriptures for Grandma's son to transcend the limits. If you ask me to commit suicide and apologize, Your Excellency would be too generous. Since ancient times, killing pays off. If you commit suicide, I will spare the life of Taoist man Guan. Otherwise, today I will destroy your Chuanjin sect. Yi Feng's face suddenly darkened and he said coldly. A bold maniac, yet he speaks wildly. A young man in the early days of second rate, who dares to come to Chongyang Palace to be reckless, really doesn't know the superiority of heaven and earth. I must give it a good lesson today, otherwise I really think I'm good at teaching bullying. I don't know where the madman came from, but he needs to discipline his elders. The Taoist priests of Chuanjin sect on the side were all in an uproar when they heard these words, and they angrily rebuked each other. Just now, so many of them were scared by a second-rate early Yi Feng, and their faces couldn't hold back. When they saw Yi Feng say such a crazy thing as destroying the Chuanjin sect, their faces were all filled with sarcasm. Kid, since you're young, hurry up and kowtow 3 times to admit your mistake, then get out of the Chongyang Palace. Otherwise, you'll be impolite, the bearded Taoist scolded earlier. The cultivation of this long-bearded Taoist is not weak among the entire disciples of Chuanjin sect, reaching the level of second-rate later stage. At a glance, Yi Feng could see that Taoist Changshu was seriously injured, and from the systematic exploration technique, Yi Feng learned that this Taoist Changshu was Yang Guo's master in the Chuanjin sect, Zhao Zhijing. Although Zhao Zhijing was seriously injured, his status was the highest among all the members of the Chuanjin sect present, except for Hao Datong. As soon as he spoke, all the other Taoists quieted down. Zhao Zhijing looked coldly at Yi Feng, although the latter had an astonishing aura, his cultivation was truly average. In the early stage of second-rate cultivation, among the 3 generations of disciples of Chuanjin sect, there were a large number of them. Yi Feng sneered coldly. Just as she was about to speak, the little dragon girl beside her took out a pair of white gloves and put them on her hands. She said coldly, Old Taoist, since you are greedy for life and afraid of death, then don't say much. Just take action. Xiaolongnu has been living in an ancient tomb since childhood and is not good at it or likes to show off her eloquence. When she saw that Hao Datong refused to commit suicide, she prepared to take direct action. Junior sister, let me come, you keep an eye on this child, Yi Feng said. Senior brother, I'm afraid you can't compete with this old Taoist. Little dragon girl shook her head and declined Yi Feng's kindness. She could naturally see that Hao Datong had already reached the level of first class in the early stage, and with Yi Feng's strength, he was not a match for Hao Datong at all. Upon hearing Xiaolongnu's words, the Chuanjin Taoist priest beside him was amazed. They were not sure about Yi Feng's origin before, but when they heard little dragon girl addressing him, they were all a bit incredulous. When did the ancient tomb sect have an additional male disciple? You should know that the ancient tomb sect never takes in men, let alone introduces men. Where did this guy come from? Especially a Chuanjin Taoist, looking at Yi Feng with a jealous expression and a hint of malice in his eyes, Yi Feng had already noticed that this Taoist was Zhen Jibing, who he wanted to kill quickly. Upon hearing Xiaolongnu's words, Yi Feng hesitated for a moment, nodded, and retreated behind Xiaolongnu, whispering, then senior brother is on the side to raid the formation for junior sister. There is no problem dealing with Hao Datong, the key is that there will be Qiu Chuji in the future. This super first class early master experience coupon only lasts for 5 minutes, so it naturally needs to be used at critical moments. Okay. Xiaolongnu nodded and said, lightly flicking her left hand, a white silk ribbon was thrown out and went straight towards Hao Datong's face. Faced with Xiaolongnu's attack, Hao Datong dared not be careless at all and went all out.